You know, sometimes the most memorable adventures aren't the ones you spend months planning out. They're the small, spontaneous detours you take along the way. Today, we're going to dive into one of those stories, a short trip inside a much larger journey that really shows the magic of just letting go of the plan.
So, to set the stage here, the backdrop for our story is this massive 6-week tour all across Southeast Asia. I mean, can you imagine the logistics, the planning, the sheer scale of that? The word they used for it was unprecedented. And this huge adventure is what makes the much smaller, more intimate journey we're about to explore feel so special.
But inside that epic 6-week trip, we're going to zoom in on just a couple of days. A simple little side quest from Kuala Lumpur to the city of Ipoh. It's kind of like a story within a story. And honestly, this is where the real magic of the whole adventure starts to happen.
And that's the theme right from the get-go. This wasn't just a journey that had a few detours. The whole thing was basically born from one.
And this is the key right here. The initial idea was something else completely, something a little more standard. This quote kind of hints that the best part of this adventure was the fact that it wasn't the original plan at all.
So just look at the contrast here. The original plan, it was almost like a collector's mission, hitting up Hard Rock cafes in Vientiane or Siem Reap. But when things got complicated and plans fell through, they didn't get bummed out. They just pivoted to something more practical. And in doing that, they opened the door to a totally different and way better experience.
All right, so their journey kicks off in Kuala Lumpur, but they're not starting with the usual tourist traps. They're starting with the warmth of a local friend.
I mean, this is how you start a real adventure, right? No time wasted checking into a hotel, scrolling through restaurant reviews. Nope. They land, meet their friend Wee Wee, and are immediately whisked away for a local meal. That just sets the tone for genuine immersion from the very first minute.
And that first meal was something called lok-lok. Now, if you've never heard of it, just picture this. You've got all these skewers of different foods, and you cook them yourself in a shared pot of boiling broth, right there at your table. It's communal, it's so much fun, and it is the perfect introduction to Malaysian street food.
And the food tour doesn't stop there. The next day isn't about seeing some famous monument. It's about tasting another one. They head over to the nearby town of Klang, which is famous for one very specific, very beloved dish.
And that dish is bak kut teh. Now, don't let the name meat bone tea throw you. There's no actual tea in it. What it is this rich, incredibly fragrant, savory pork rib soup that's been simmered for hours with all these herbs and spices. It's pure comfort in a bowl.
So after all that buildup, what was the big review? Simple, direct, and absolutely perfect. It was good indeed. You know, sometimes the most amazing experiences don't need 1,000 flowery words. They're just good, and that is more than enough.
Okay, so from the buzz and hustle of KL, the story now takes us to Ipoh, and this is really where the whole philosophy of the trip just clicks into place. They start to embrace a much slower, more unrushed pace.
I mean, this is it. This is the beauty of unplanned travel in action. They had no checklist, no itinerary, they woke up whenever they felt like it, they wandered around without a map, and their curiosity led them to a graveyard of all places, not some museum. They were just totally open to whatever the day decided to throw at them.
And just look at this timeline. This isn't some jam-packed schedule. It's proof of the power of slowing down. They check into a wine lounge in the late afternoon, and they don't even leave for dinner until almost 11 o'clock at night. So what happened in between? They just talked about friends, life, philosophy, everything that matters.
Let's just let that sink in. 6 hours. They spent nearly 6 hours just sitting, drinking wine, and getting into a really deep conversation. I mean, in our world today, when was the last time any of us set aside 6 uninterrupted hours just to talk with a friend? It's a kind of luxury that you only really get when you have no plan.
But hey, even on a totally unplanned trip, you can still have a little mission, right? And their evening in Ipoh basically turned into this mini adventure, a quest to find one very specific hidden spot.
So here's the drama. After that long philosophical chat, they head to the one place they actually wanted to find, Atas Speakeasy. They get there, all excited, and the door's locked. Oof, the quest hits a major roadblock.
But do they just pack it in and go home? No way. In the true spirit of this trip, the obstacle just becomes an opportunity for another detour. They kick off this impromptu bar crawl, Just having one drink at each new spot while they wait for a sign, a message, anything.
So you gotta wonder, really, at this point, after 4 different bars, it's getting late. Would they just call it a night? Their persistence is really a huge part of this story.
And boom, their persistence pays off. They get an email, head back to the original spot, and this time, the door opens. The quest is a success. I can only imagine that moment of finding the door unlocked must have felt like such a huge victory, a reward for their patience.
So, this final chapter of their night in Ipoh, this is where everything really comes together. The spontaneity, the deep conversations, the rewarding quest, it all culminates here.
And what they found inside was totally worth the wait. The whole vibe was like stepping into another era, like a 1920s movie set. But even more important, they actually connected with the owner, Alicia, who shared her own personal dreams with them. So it wasn't just about grabbing a drink, it was about this shared human moment that just perfectly capped off their entire journey.
This final quote just says it all, doesn't it? The experience was so immersive, so surreal, that for a little while they actually felt like they were part of that world. It just captures that magical feeling when you stop being a tourist and you truly inhabit a moment.
And that really brings us to the big idea here. This whole story wasn't really about the destination, was it? It was about the incredible value of getting lost, of taking detours, and of being completely open to the unexpected. So it leaves us with a question to think about. What meaning do you find when you just throw the plan away?